Hey guys, Attic Cyclist here. Just wanted to touch on some things that I've been thinking about over the winter here. I've been seeing a huge push, for Chinese carbon wheels, Chinese carbon bars and components, and they definitely have their place. There's been times where I thought about, when I was having some issues sourcing some Resale CLX2s used, so I won't buy them new for my SLS works here. I considered it, and I did so much research on some of the companies. I'm not going to start naming names, but I like the idea of it, and there's no doubt they are a tremendous value for what you're getting. I mean, hell, there's some brands that are, equipping their wheel sets with, ceramic speed bearings, and then you could actually build the wheels up with DT 180, DT 240, DT 350. So I love the flexibility of the assortment of options when you're building a Chinese wheel set. Again, now because too the patent had run out for the star ratchet, so you see a lot of brands, using the star ratchet, which I personally love the best for both road and mountain. I guess the only thing that I'm concerned about, and I guess please, I really would enjoy some feedback from viewers and their personal experiences with some of these Chinese brand components. Not so much the bars, but I would say more of the wheels. And here's my thought process behind all this. So one, I don't hold on to my bikes for very long, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years, and hell, I've even sold my Cervelo in less than 2 months. But I love the idea of having a component that has high resale value, right? Because I'm not in here to take huge losses when I'm selling my bikes. And when you're dealing with companies like Envy and Resale here, when you're dealing with Zip, Princeton Carbon Works, and some of these higher end wheels, they always seem to be one that is available, but also selling still at a premium, right? They didn't take this huge hit, right? They didn't depreciate over time, and there's still a huge demand and desirability for them. So part of my concern is, if I go to resale, I want something that somebody's going to want, right? I see so many carbon bars, Chinese bars on Facebook Marketplace, Pink Bike, on eBay, and same thing for wheels. They're just not moving. People that buy them are buying them because of the value, and that's great. You are getting a lot for your money, but there's no resale for them unless you have someone that wants those exact wheels. But at what price point can you get a set of used wheels like I did here with my Resale CLX2s with DT 180 star ratchet hubs with the EXP ratchet, DT ceramic bearings, and you're getting all the technology and data and testing from Specialized, right, who owns their own wind tunnel. I'm using that as an example, right? And people hate Specialized finals. I'm using that as an example. So when I'm looking at buying components, I'm looking at, all right, am I going to get any money out of this thing? I don't collect bikes. You don't see a whole wall full of bikes here that I just collect and just keep for the hell of it and never ride again. I'm flipping bikes. So I want something that's going to resale. Let's just go on the other side of this thing, right? So these wheel sets are coming out at ridiculous weights. I mean, super, super crazy lightweight wheels. And at what cost, right? Obviously, we know it's material. So I have a concern personally about quality control. When you're dealing with these large corporations, these large companies, there's more liability, there's more testing, there's higher QC. And I feel that, because they typically shoot for double the industry standard of strength and durability, I personally trust more at 50 miles an hour going downhill a wheel that is known to be well tested. And I know, listen, anything can happen, right? Anything can happen. There's freak things that happen. You see wheels blowing up in the pro peloton, tires blowing off the beads with the Envies and some of the, I guess maybe Zips, I don't even know. But again, when I'm thinking about the carbon itself, and the spokes, I'm thinking safety. Safety's first and foremost in my realm here. So I'll pay a little bit of a premium for that safety. So that's number one. Number two is let's go to quality control. I've seen issues where these wheels have delaminated, again, on some posts on Facebook and some posts in some of the forums and some YouTube videos. I've seen some of these carbon Chinese brands that people are buying where the aero spokes are not even straight. They're kind of off center, kind of negating the aero benefit because the quality control wasn't there when they were spoking the wheels. I've seen issues with the hubs, and I've seen issues with people that had to put warranty claims in, and they're very not responsive dealing with, overseas through, eBay chats or through direct chats through email, where there's a 2, 3, 4, 5 day week turnaround time between correspondence. I want to kind of know that I can reach out to the manufacturer directly if I bought them firsthand. Secondhand, some of the wheels do have a second owner limited warranty, but I want to know that I'm riding on something relatively safe, and I can go to my local bike shop, or I can pick up the phone and call someone here in the U.S. That has a customer service, and they'll take my call immediately. Again, these are some of the things that I'm thinking about when I'm putting my components together. So, excuse me. So basically, I just wanted to kind of get out there is that, I love the idea of all these diverse companies coming out with all these beautiful wheels and price points, and visually they're stunning, but the question is at what cost? If you live in a relatively area where there's not a lot of potholes and the pavement and the tarmac and the chip seal is relatively smooth, maybe you're in Florida or maybe you're down south in nice weather. I'm at New Jersey. You can go from a beautiful road to, mined and IED city. These are the things that I think about when I'm buying wheels specifically. Again, for the bars, I really like some of the bars. I'm gonna be honest. There's been instances where, yes, these Resales, when they were selling used, they're selling for what, maybe 50, maybe $100 less than retail. When you're looking at some of these Chinese bars, they're selling for maybe $100, $150 when they're $450, $500 bars. The good news about these Chinese brands is that they're offering sizes that are not always offered, in these traditional name brands, whether it be Envy, whether it be Zip, whether it be Roval, and if you can't get your hands on it because of these large manufacturers' distribution timings, and manufacturing, I know everyone loves those new Envies, the ones that Pagacha's writing. So, those are really hot right now, but I'm just talking off the cuff because I've seen, again, the resale issue, I've seen durability issue, and I've seen quality control issue. And again, when you're dealing with these lightweight wheels, we're starting to split hairs at, 800, 900, 1100 grams, 1400 grams. These are about 1500 grams and change. But at what cost? It's going to be material, whether it's the resin or whether it's going to be the quality carbon or the lack of less material. So again, I'm more concerned personally with saving, maybe an injury, because of an issue with the wheel because it just didn't have enough material on it, or the quality control was a little bit lower, versus, saving, a couple bucks and maybe, 100, 200 grams. If I was going to look to save 200 grams, I'd be looking at Princeton carbon. I'd be looking at lightweight, and some of these other wheels. I do like the wheels that Giant makes. The name is not coming to the front here, my tongue here, but really, really cool. It's just unfortunate most of these wheels, they're tubeless only, right? They're hookless, and I really, I run tubes, so I want hooked wheels. But again, just kind of some thoughts out there. I would love to hear some feedback about your experiences with either resale and also quality control, durability around some of these brands, and also if you had issues with the wheels, how was the customer service and the timing around some of these parts. I'm not going to get into the Chinese frames. There's a lot of information about that, and those are not really as far and few between. I do see some Seiko spears, floating around there that are not selling. I think someone's going to go out and buy, a used SL7 or used SL8, to save on some money versus, going to buy a Chinese frame. If you're racing, Windspace and Seiko, and some of these other companies, they're great options. So, if you get totaled, you're not, in a hole for $5,500 like a tarmac here. But, I just think, those have issues too with the roundness of the bottom brackets and some of the issues with the seat post, with the material being very inconsistent in terms of how much materials on each side of the seat tube, and some of the headset issues. So I've seen a lot, again, these are all little things that could pop up on some of the big brands, but I just wanted to kind of get that out there. Just something I think about. I've been seeing a lot of these brands being pushed. There's so many reviews on so many different wheels, and every time there's a new review, it's the latest and greatest, it's the best of the best. But I'm sticking to my guns. I'm sticking to traditional brands where I know the quality control is high, where I know the customer support's high. I know I can go to the local bike shop if I had a situation, and if I'm not having success, dealing with the customer service online, and I'll take the weight penalty, knowing that I've got a more durable, robust wheel for really a safety aspect here. So. That's just kind of my 2 cents. I was going to get into it and kind of doing all the weight differences and splitting hairs, and it's not even that. It's basically just kind of the base of what's more important to you. Is it the cost savings of a few $100s? Is it going to be availability? Is it going to be resale value? These are all things that I think about when I'm putting the bike together, and plan on having it for maybe two to 3 years. If you know me and you're following along with the channel, I don't really hold bikes for more than about that 2 3 year mark. So again, these are things I think about. I can easily sell these bars for what I paid for them. I can easily sell these wheels for probably more than I paid for them. And so again, these are things that I think about when I'm building a bike, so I'm not constantly taking a hit every time I move on. So yeah, I would love to hear some feedback and your experience. Shoot them in the comments. Appreciate it. Thanks.